The UK housing market is changing faster than anyone expected, and most people still don't realize just how big this shift really is. What we're seeing right now isn't just a slowdown or a wobble or a cooling period. We're witnessing a historic reset, a once-in-a-generation transformation that will redefine homeownership, affordability, and even where people choose to live. Today, we're going deep into the mortgage time bomb, the North-South divide, the buyer-seller standoff, and the economic forces reshaping the entire property landscape. By the end of this video, you'll understand why experts are calling this the biggest turning point in UK housing since 2008. So let's get into it. Studio microphone: the mortgage time bomb. Right now, the biggest pressure point in the entire market is mortgages. For years, the UK lived through an era of unbelievably cheap borrowing. People locked in 2% and 3% mortgage rates, often without a second thought. And they built their lives and their budgets around those tiny payments. But that world is gone. Between now and 2027, almost 800,000 fixed-rate mortgage deals will expire. Millions more will follow shortly after. And when those ultra-cheap rates jump to today's 5% or 6%, the shock is enormous. Let's make this real. A £250,000 mortgage at 2% cost about £1,120 a month. Refinance today, and that same mortgage jumps to £1,460 per month. That's an extra £340 every month, or £4,000 a year, for the same home. But here's the scary part. That's the best-case scenario. Because if homeowners fail to refinance quickly, they're pushed onto variable rates at 7% or even 8%. Now that same mortgage hits £1,750 a month. That's £630 more every single month, or £7,500 extra per year. And remember, this is happening at the same time as rising food prices, rising energy bills, and persistent inflation. For many families, this isn't a squeeze. It's full-blown financial suffocation. And it's forcing one outcome: selling. Not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Studio microphone: a market standoff is forming. This financial pressure is creating a dramatic imbalance in the market. In London, we're seeing something astonishing. Chart increasing listings are up 19%. Chart decreasing sales are down 28%. That is a full-scale market standoff. Sellers want yesterday's prices. Buyers refuse to pay them. So properties sit, and sit, and sit. Every week that passes triggers more price cuts, more desperation, and more forced listings. This is how a housing downturn begins. Not with a sudden crash, but with a slow drip that eventually becomes a flood. Studio microphone: the North-South divide explodes wide open. Nowhere is this shift clearer than in the widening divide between the North and South. Studio microphone: the North, fast, fierce, and on fire. In northern cities like Newcastle, Leeds, and Manchester, the market is buzzing. Homes are being snapped up in days, sometimes hours. Multiple offers, bidding wars, packed viewings, the demand is unreal. In the Northeast alone, prices are up over 8% in a single year. Because the North offers what the South no longer can. Heavy checkmark: actual affordability. Heavy checkmark: reasonable mortgage levels. Heavy checkmark: a better balance between income and living costs. Heavy checkmark: space and quality of life. A 3-bedroom house in Newcastle averages £180,000. Compare that to studio microphone: the South, frozen, stalled, and straining under pressure. London and the Southeast look like someone hit the pause button. Homes stay listed for months. Sellers slash prices. Buyers pull back. The energy, the buzz, the urgency, it's gone. In outer London, that same 3-bedroom home costs £450,000 to £500,000 plus. More than double. For the same home. In a slower market. That's not a difference. That's a different universe. Studio microphone: the cost of living reality. Let's break this down with real everyday numbers. Manchester buyer. £200,000 mortgage. Lower council tax. Short commute. Lower living costs. Stable. Predictable. Livable. London buyer. £400,000 mortgage, long commute, higher bills, higher council tax, higher everything. Even high earners struggle. For many, life feels like working just to survive London. This is no longer about lifestyle. It's about quality of life versus cost of living. And people are choosing quality. This is why thousands of families, young professionals, and even retirees are relocating north. The UK's population map is being redrawn, quietly, but rapidly. Studio microphone, the social shockwave. As mortgage pressure intensifies and southern markets stagnate, forced selling becomes more common. This isn't just an economic shift. This is personal. Families who stretched themselves during the 2021 to 2022 buying boom now face impossible decisions. Stay in sync? Sell and downsize? Or leave the South entirely? Communities begin to fragment. Local economies weaken. Inequality grows. And thousands risk falling from homeowners back into renters and competing in an already ruthless rental market. The emotional toll is huge. The financial toll is worse. Studio microphone, what you should do right now. Here's the practical advice every viewer needs. Studio microphone homeowners with fixes expiring soon. Contact your lender early. Compare multiple refinance options. Cut non-essential spending. Talk to a financial advisor. Don't wait until it's too late. Studio microphone buyers. Look north for better affordability. Be cautious in London and the Southeast. Don't buy out of fear, buy based on numbers. Prepare for volatility. Studio microphone renters. Expect stronger competition. Explore emerging areas. Track affordability trends. Be open to relocation for better value. In a volatile market, information is your strongest asset. Studio microphone, the final word. This is a structural reset. Let's be absolutely clear. This is not a temporary dip. This is not a seasonal slowdown. This is not a media exaggeration. This is a fundamental, structural reset of the UK housing market, driven by mortgage affordability, rising supply, falling demand, regional shifts, economic pressure, and changing expectations. The next 12 to 24 months will shape the next decade of housing. Your financial future depends on understanding these changes now, not later. So stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay ahead. Make sure to subscribe for weekly updates, deep dives, and real data that cuts through the noise. Because in a shifting housing market, knowledge isn't just power, it's protection.